Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go ballsy! Today I am going to explain Satoru Gojo's dream that is shaping up the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen. Gojo's dream is the fundamental cornerstone of the overall story of this manga. Gege Akutami, the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen, recently did interviews regarding the final chapter, in which the author stated the conclusion has already been decided. Fushiguro's ending is confirmed, whilst Yuji Itadori's isn't. But what is guaranteed is that one of the main protagonists will die, which are Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, or Satoru freaking Gojo. However, another option that Gege has stated is that only one will stay alive and all the other protagonists will die. Either way, someone is going to perish. Now you're probably wondering, why is the author of Jujutsu Kaisen dead set on setting up the end of the manga in such a way? Essentially, the current story in the manga is focusing on a specific character at once to develop them. It's all to count down to unseal Satoru Gojo and him finding out the atrocities the higher ups have made. By watching this entire video till the end, you will learn 3 things. Number 1, what is Satoru Gojo's dream and how is it shaping up the end of the manga? Number 2, which sorcerers can surpass Gojo or match his powers? And number 3, why Itadori or other sorcerers will die by the end of the manga. As we cannot forget that one of Itadori's goals in life is to have a good death, as his grandfather informed him of his regret before passing away. So with that out of the way, let's first focus on what it means to be strong enough to surpass Satoru freaking Gojo. And that's the way I love saying it, is Satoru.
We do not care.
So what does it mean to surpass Gojo? Judging from the surface, it's clear that these 2 things must be taken into account. Number 1, what the world sees as special grade sorcerers. And number 2, the influence in the Jujutsu world, such as the politics behind it. Now we are all pretty much aware that Gojo is the apex of both these factors. According to Akutami, Gojo is the ceiling of power in Jujutsu Kaisen. Not only is he widely known in the present Jujutsu world, but he has also gone above and beyond past 6 eyes and limitless users. In fact, Gojo's birth was a crucial event because it shifted the balance of power between sorcerers and cursed spirits. While he was protected from quite a few assassinations, even as a young child, Gojo was intimidating enough to big names like Toji, who was famously known as the sorcerer killer. We don't need to tell you how quickly Gojo rose to the top, literally becoming a god of Jujutsu by mastering the reverse curse technique to generate unlimited curse energy. What we want to tell you though is that it is an incredibly uphill task to even think about catching up to Gojo, let alone surpass him. However, surprisingly, the man himself expects and wants to be surpassed someday. That's what's crazy about this story. Whilst Itadori was negotiating with Sukuna in the aftermath of his death, Gojo shared his long-standing dream in life. This dream was nothing else than reforming the current Jujutsu society inside out. According to Satoru Gojo, the Jujutsu society was riddled with ancient protocols, traditions, and bloodlines that were losing relevance. He even went as far as calling out the higher-ups who could not see past these things, as we saw with Principal Gakunganji, who wanted to kill Yuji Itadori. Whilst he could easily do so, Gojo decided against massacring all the higher-ups because he realized it would not solve the root problem. This root problem was nothing he was alien to because he had experienced it firsthand through his best friend Suguru Geto. The Jujutsu society, despite wanting to protect humans, ironically completely disregarded human life for the selfish desire of sorcerers. Every decision meant politics based upon the greed of the Jujutsu families who craved power and influence, even going as far as killing their own blood. Instead, he chose a wiser and more effective path to bring about change in Jujutsu Kaisen. Gojo became a teacher. By doing so, he would teach and raise strong allies. These students wouldn't just be strong with their Jujutsu, but they would also have a strong head. Well, in some cases quite literally with Yuji and Hakari. Gojo wants his students to match his power or surpass him in order to achieve his dream, but it goes even further than that. In the Shibuya arc, Megumi has a flashback to another lecture from his strange teacher. It did help him call forth the strongest Shikigami of 10 Shadows, Maharaga, but there was something even more significant in the exchange in this flashback. Gojo gave Megumi and us some food for thought by bringing up the past feud between the Gojo and Zenin clans. The previous heads from the Edo and Kaicho period went up against each other, using their immensely powerful curse techniques. As much as both of them wanted victory, they both were killed in this battle. What Gojo wanted Megumi to realize was that in the bid for control and influence, the Jujutsu society was killing itself from the inside. So Gojo wants to create a world where the strongest look out for each other, rather than scheming and plotting their lives away. And yes, that sounds much like the relationship between Gojo had with Satoru Gojo in their youth, as they respected one another and actually had a strong bond. At the core, Gojo believes that special grade will no longer be the standard or category of the strongest. In the recent timeline, the Jujutsu Society had only 4 special grade sorcerers: Yuki, Gojo, Geto, and Yuta. Whilst the powers of Yuki and Yuta aren't fully revealed yet, we can say that these sorcerers have exceptional curse techniques. Special grade sorcerers being so few in number is a surprise, when Gojo noted that there are quite a few special grade cursed spirits appearing much more in the recent modern times. We can guess that this is because of the imbalance Gojo's birth has caused. In such a situation, Jujutsu Kaisen has plenty of times made it clear who the candidates for surpassing Gojo actually are. For example, in Gojo's nice little chat with Principal Gakuganji before the exchange event, images of Yuta, Yuji, and Todo was shown, but there are more characters who are capable of getting stronger. If the strongest himself believes that there will be a drastic shift in power, then it must be taken seriously. Hence why I'm making this video to explain to the entire community how the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen is shaping up with these said powers and why Gojo's dream will become a reality. However, as you can tell from the storytelling in Jujutsu Kaisen so far, as sorcery in itself is selfish, as he stated to Megumi, for Gojo's dream to become a reality, someone else's has to be stamped on. So the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen isn't going to be a fairy tale and full of happy thoughts. There's gonna have to be some sacrifice, as there is an equivalent exchange. So let's kick off this list on who can surpass Satoru Gojo to achieve his dream first. So who else is better to start off this list on who can achieve Satoru Gojo's dream and surpass him? Well, of course, we have to mention Yuta Okkotsu. Yuta originates from the Jujutsu Kaisen prequel called Volume 0, or the movie that is coming out that all of us are probably gonna watch and we're all hyped for. Once you watch the Jujutsu Kaisen 0 movie, Yuta has pretty much solidified his position as the second, or maybe third because of Megumi, the second or third protagonist of this manga. As mentioned before, Yuta has been labeled as a special grade sorcerer since a very young age. He is also a fan favorite for being the first one to surpass Gojo, since even Gojo hints at that before he was sealed away to Suguru Geto, aka now known as Kenjaku, who is making a sorcerer plan to take over the world. Even if we look at the latest chapters 173, it states that Yuta Okkotsu is second only to none other than Satoru Gojo. Yuta is also Gojo's distant cousin, being a descendant of the legendary sorcerer turned vengeful spirit Sugawara Michizain. But his relationship with Satoru Gojo is not the only OP thing about him. Yuta also has a reserve of incredible power, starting with his cursed energy. We knew he was strong, but Yuta actually has more cursed energy than Satoru Gojo himself. Although he expends it at a much higher rate, this senpai of Itadori actually started out out as a regular citizen, surprisingly with an unfortunate power. He was haunted by Rika, the vengeful spirit of his childhood crush and best friend of the same name. Well, it turned out that Yuta had created this Rika when he accidentally cursed her spirit when she died, making her become his guardian with a lingering attachment. Yuta joined the school to control and free Rika from the curse, and he received a great deal of power because of her. Geto called Rika the Queen of Curses, which was evident from Yuta's growth and fights. With her help, Yuta could copy certain curse techniques. For example, Rika could manifest a bullhorn with curse markings that would essentially enable Yuta to use Toga Unomaki's curse speech technique. Interestingly, Rika could also appear next to Yuta and attack enemies when she sensed danger approaching because of her sentience. During Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0, Yuta goes through his first year as a sorcerer and has a fight with Geto Suguru himself, Gojo's best friend. We go balls deep into Yuta Okkotsu's backstory in our video here that is being displayed to you right now, so check that out if you want the entire deep explanation of that entire story. But let's discuss this fight a bit more right now. On one hand, Geto was a special grade sorcerer, previously one half of the strongest duo ever. He has a rare curse technique and was fighting with maximum Uzumaki and a special grade vengeful spirit. On the other hand, Yuta was a barely trained sorcerer during the events of Volume 0. He only had Rika to rely on for the fight. Yet, he showed commendable skills and combat ability, eventually even defeating a special grade sorcerer Geto to a pulp. Although Yuta did turn to Rika to evoke more power for his purpose, he promised Rika to stay with her forever, basically trading his life for it. However, even if he did not disappear, the consequence of this kind of binding vow was Rika being freed from her status as a vengeful spirit and her disappearing, making it seem like Yuta lost his powers. But of course, someone in line to surpass Satoru Gojo wouldn't lose his powers so easily, right? Yuta disappeared from the story after these events, and it turns out he was carrying out missions abroad. Despite apparently losing his powers and in effect his grade, Yuta came back with a bang in the Shibuya aftermath. When he was overseas, Gojo had gone to him to ask him to look out for everyone if something happened to him. This shows us the belief Gojo has in Yuta, even though it wasn't shared by Kenjaku in the Shibuya incident. Kenjaku laughed off Yuta's potential instead, but later chapters told us otherwise. Even look at chapter 173. Yuta is declared a special grade within an instant of coming back. He didn't even have to work hard to get the rank back. When Yuta returns to the story, he showed up to supposedly kill Yuji Itadori, his junior. This is all according to the binding vow he had made with the Jujutsu higher-ups, who are corrupt. We as fans expected his returns, but obviously not in this way. Yuji and Yuta had an intense showdown, the result of which was Yuji getting stabbed. But there were several crucial points this fight told us. For starters, Yuta still has Rika, or another curse spirit exactly like her. He has gained valuable experience now as seen with his combat with the sword. More importantly, he has also mastered reverse curse technique, as evident when he revived Yuji Itadori right after stabbing him and killing him for the second time in the bloody story. Do you guys even realize that Itadori has died not only once but twice, and maybe the third time is gonna be the strike where he's gonna achieve his dream? But I'm gonna get to that by the end of this video, please stick around. But basically, Yuta made the other sorcerers and the higher-ups believe he had executed Itadori and he's dead, as at that time of the story, Itadori had a bounty on his head and had to be proven dead to the Jujutsu system. But as I've explained, Yuta can pretty much cure fatal wounds now with his mastery of reverse curse technique. So through this action, he fulfilled the binding vow and also saved his junior's life, which is why Gojo went to him to help and save everyone if something happened to him. So Yuta definitely hasn't lost his abilities. If not, he gained more of them. However, he has had too little screen time for us to tell what arsenal of abilities abilities he exactly has. He might even have a domain expansion for all we know. Even then, we can safely assume that Yuta has all the qualities of becoming a much more powerful person in the future.
So next up on the list, we have the feisty, the mysterious third year of Tokyo Jujutsu High, Hakari. We already knew there was nobody normal at this school, but Hakari just takes it to another level. He is infamous for his extremely short temper, which even got him expelled when he fought with a higher up. More than that though, Hikari has made his way into quite some conversations that concerned strong sorcerers. Frankly, all of us were pretty excited to meet the man. After all, our favorite for becoming the strongest to rival Gojo, Yuta, spoke very highly of Hakari. According to Yuta, Hakari was even stronger than himself when he was on a roll. Well, Maki did not agree to this modesty, but what matters is that Hakari is a solid candidate. This faith also led Itadori and Megumi to try persuading Hakari to join their side in the culling game. What we did not expect at all was that Hakari was dabbling into illegal activities since his suspension. He set up a fight club for non-sorcerers to see sorcerers fight without their curse technique. Naturally, that was because non-sorcerers cannot see those techniques anyway. With this club, Hakari was earning a filthy lot because he used to write scripts for the fight, and hence he was always on the lookout for people he could write scripts on, and a panda versus sorcerer showdown couldn't escape his keen eye. His invitation to Yuji gave our boy a chance to persuade Hakari while Megumi fought the formidable opponent and Hakari's protector, Kiara. Kiara? What is that? Kirara. Wait, what? That's how you say it? Bruh, I thought it was like Kiara. I've been reading it wrong this whole time.
Stupid!
The negotiation barely went through though, but from the fight between Yuji and Hakari, we came to know that Hakari is indeed strong. Yuji's forte is physical strength, but Hakari kept up with his massive headbutt and even punched Yuji hard enough to throw him off. God damn, this dude's strong. Coronavirus, bro.
We do not care.
The mystery around Hakari still lingers though. We did not get to see his curse technique at all, although some fans speculate that it may be based around tatami mat. Moreover, according to Hakari, Gojo also said that his curse energy has an edge. In chapter 157, we saw Itadori state how his curse energy even turned normal punches into serrated bat. Even with little power, he was hurting him more than a usual sorcerer can, which points out yet again that something sets Hakari apart. It will be quite interesting to witness how Hakari's eccentric personality fits into the culling game arc. Hakari is certainly a bit crazy, like the principal said, like all sorcerers should be. No normal human being would be fighting these curses. Let me tell you that I would be shitting my pants if I came across an ugly looking curse.
Damn, bro, that was mad funny.
Now the craziest part about Hakari is that he really loves fever. What does that mean? He was also the happiest fighting for Tokyo Jujutsu High, so his role is going to be crucial for sure. With that being said, Hakari is definitely a candidate to surpass what it means to be Satoru freaking Gojo.
What?
Following her senpai and classmate footsteps is none other than Maki! Yes, Maki Zenin. Who would have thought that our beloved girl would turn into a mass murderer within just a few hours? Well, the road to that moment was quite long and it was good riddance for the most part. But let's quickly go over how Maki got here and became an overpowered, unrelenting force who I would say could surpass Gojo himself in the near future. Before going into the culling game, Maki decided to take some cursed tools from the Zenin warehouse, with of course the permission of the new clan head, Megumi. Yes, that feels so weirdly nice to say. However, Maki must have not thought, even in her dreams, about what she was about to go through because of this decision. Her father Zenin Ogi prepared a warm welcome for her, keeping a battered up Mai captive with full intentions to kill both of his daughters. He was upset that his daughters being weak led to him not becoming the Zenin head despite being strong on his own. Moreover, the supposed inheritors of the clan head position were not happy with Megumi literally snatching it from them. Especially not when his father, Toji, another heavily restricted man, had wreaked such havoc before. Toji legit played with the Zenins both when he was alive and even after he was dead. So to take away Megumi's position, the power-hungry Zenin began with wanting to kill off Megumi's allies. And what better chance when one of them was being served to them on a full platter. Ogi attacked Maki, almost fatally wounding her, and threw both his sisters in a pit full of cursed spirits. The sad story of the Zenin twins came to an even tragic end here. On the verge of death, Mai and Maki had an emotional conversation in a shared space. Mai admitted that she would die once their dream-like escape falls away because of all the injuries she incurred. She then explained to her sister that she never wanted to become strong. However, this lack of resolve and desire made Maki fall behind too. Confused? Well, don't worry. Let's rewind a bit and start from the beginning. Maki is the total opposite of what a prodigy child is, who was born into the Zenin clan. She did not have cursed energy, nor could she see curses, despite coming from a so-called prestigious Jujutsu family. Instead, she had heavenly restriction that gave her boosted physical strength and senses. However, it turns out her cursed energy system was much more complicated than we thought. As per Jujutsu natural law, twins were seen as one person. So Maki and her twin sister Mai shared cursed energy, which is actually real bad news. Mai, even though she was Maki's twin, was born with a cursed technique called curation. You know, the technique she used to pop things into existence. But the thing is, Maki's heavenly restriction required her to be completely devoid of cursed energy. And because both twins shares the same pool of energy, Mai also suffered from extremely low cursed energy. And because of the little amount of cursed energy that Mai had, Maki wasn't able to fully obtain the ridiculous strength she would have gotten because of the heavenly restriction, much like Toji. Evidently, these two opposing forces cut down on the growth of both the sisters. Mai could not create more than one bullet a day by expending all of her cursed energy, whilst Maki reached a stagnant point of strength, making all the training she was doing going to waste. What made things worse was Mai did not want to train as a sorcerer, but Maki did. Even for growing in power, both the twins who shared cursed energy had to train. The only way either of them could achieve their full potential was, sadly, if the other one disappeared. So that's what Mai did. She took away the little cursed energy both of them shared when she passed away, releasing Maki's full potential of heavenly restriction. Mai also left her sister the last weapon, a sword made from all her cursed energy, and wished for Maki to destroy everything. Maki now, with her heavenly restriction in full throttle, had achieved a form much comparable to that of Yuji Fushiguro himself. Armed with a sword and a promise alone, Maki slaughtered nearly the entire Zenin clan, including their strongest forces. She ended her father's miserable life in one slash and went up against fighters like Junichi, who was at least a special grade 1. After decapitating him along with destroying every other member of her family, she went up against Naoya Zenin, the son of the previous head, Naobito Zenin. Naoya, like his father, had mastery over projection sorcery, and he had the rank of special grade 1. And for those who don't know what level of power that is, well, it's just right below special grade rank, meaning weaker than Gojo, Geto, Yuki and Yuta, but above the likes of Todo, Nanami and even Principal Yaga. And Maki was able to slaughter not just one of these special grade 1, but multiple sorcerers from this rank. Maki literally wiped out the strongest unit in the Zenin clan, the Hei. Whilst this fight tarnished Maki's reputation and well, nearly ended or at least made useless Megumi's career as a clan leader, we can say that her ruthlessness reminded us of Toji. Toji is the only one who even came close to killing Gojo in over 2 decades, and Maki seemed to reflect him. This development is not that unexpected, as a lot of fans had predicted Maki's spurt. We just did not know it would happen so tragically. Maki has become extremely formidable when we take into account her already existing mastery with weapons. If she gets her hand on a curse too, like the inverted spear of heaven, she might even become a juggernaut like Toji himself. Though with that said, the weapon she wields currently is not graded. Mai left all her will and curse energy into it, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a special grade. And with more training and experience, it's clear as day that Maki will be a strong contender to surpass Gojo's power someday. With the seniors out the way, let's talk about a character that is quintessential to the story, Megumi Fushiguro.
Hey yo, what the fuck? I know I pronounce shit bad, but what the hell was that?
Fushiguro, bruh. Fushiguro.
I just memed the hell out of this guy, Yusuf Shrek.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Fushiguro has been a part of the Jujutsu Kaisen series since the very start, serving many roles as a plot device, from being an info dump about the Jujutsu Kaisen world to being a moral compass for Itadori, a true friend, a rival, and much more. Over the course of the series, we've seen Megumi grow exponentially, especially in battle. Currently a first year student at Jujutsu High, Megumi was born to Toji Fushiguro, who once belonged to the Zenin family, whom he parted ways with due to understandable reasons. You know, the casual discrimination here and there, like, you don't have curse energy?
You're trash, kid.
Then proceed to prove everyone wrong by being a sorcerer killer and threaten to kill the entire family if they say shit and mess about. Well, if you guys don't know about that, then let me tell you a bit about the Zenin family. Being one of the three main families in the Jujutsu world, the Zenin family has a strong grasp over the Jujutsu world's politics. They are almost free to do whatever they want, which includes treating people like shit. The best and more recent examples here would be Maki and Mai senpai, who we talked about just a minute ago. Sadly, they had a similar experience to Toji, with Maki literally finishing off what Toji should have done years ago. Though more than likely there were other underlying factors for Toji leaving the clan, like his relationship with Megumi's mother. Yes, after leaving the clan, Toji had Megumi, where sadly not long after his birth, Megumi's mother passed away. Now, as a single father, to gain some money, Toji would bounce from woman to woman. I guess his good looks came in handy. Also, looking after a kid on your own ain't an easy task. Toji would also do some crazy one-hit assassination jobs to earn a lot of money. However, he would spend it as quickly as he earned it. He had a gambling problem, okay? My guy even offered his son to the Zenin clan leader Naobito, as his son would potentially be a worthy sorcerer, and at that point in his life he didn't think he would do justice by his son, so at least he would have a family with the Zenin clan. Regardless, Toji looked after his son Megumi till he reached the age of 6 and started elementary school. At this point in Megumi's life, his father had married Tsumiki's Fushiguro's mother. Toji alongside Megumi then adopted the Fushiguro family name, and Megumi started living with his stepsister Tsumiki. However, sadly, just as quickly as their parents got married, they disappeared. We all know what happened to Toji, but the mother's disappearance is still a mystery. As per the deal Toji had with Naobito, Megumi was supposed to be sent to the Zenin clan, but this didn't happen because of Toji's final request to Gojo before being sent to the next life, which was to take Megumi. Megumi continued living with his older stepsister whilst being raised and financially supported by the Jujutsu High, under the guardianship of Gojo himself, the very man who killed his own father. Nonetheless, that isn't as important since Fushiguro never had a strong bond with his father in the first place. He also took upon some of Gojo's way of working, as Megumi can be equally ruthless to people whom he believes are bad or evil. He and Gojo have the ability to draw the distinct line which should never be crossed by anybody, whilst remaining kind in their own ways. This is why Fushiguro doesn't believe that he's a hero or something similar. He's simply fulfilling his responsibilities and understands that there is a chance that it might not be the best course of action every time, or it may lead to unfortunate incidents and losses. Now, currently in the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, Megumi is the head of the Zenin clan. Well, more like whatever's left of it. It's not like it matters to him anyways, since he only accepted a role for political power. But with the personal info done, let's shift our focus back to the core subject of this video, which is surpassing Satoru Gojo. And why do we believe that Megumi can reach Gojo's level at the very least, if not surpass him? Well, because Gojo himself said so. Yes guys, Gojo wholeheartedly believes that Fushiguro has the potential to become one of the cornerstones of the Jujutsu world due to his vast potential as a sorcerer. So far, Fushiguro has proved his master's statement to be true, as he has grown exponentially over the course of the manga. One of the biggest signs of Megumi's insane potential is the acknowledgement he has garnered from people. Naobito Zenin, the 26th head of Zenin clan, wrote a specific condition for his will, which was related to Gojo and Fushiguro Fushiguro. In the clause, Toji, Megumi's father, and Naobito, the current head, made an agreement that if Gojo were to die or be mentally incapacitated, then Megumi would be welcomed into the Zenin clan as its head. Furthermore, Sukuna shows a deep interest in Megumi, going as far to protect him and prevent his death at all costs. So far, Megumi has been acknowledged by the head of one of the most important clans in the Jujutsu world, the King of Curses, Sukuna, and Satoru Gojo, the very ceiling of power in the Jujutsu world. All three of them have their reasons to believe that Fushiguro will become one of the greatest sorcerer in history. So let's take a look at all the reasons in detail. Firstly, genetics plays a huge role in this. As we know, Megumi is the son of Toji Zenin, or later known as Toji Fushiguro, the man who was a menace to the Zenin clan and the Jujutsu world in general due to his heavenly restriction. Being his son, Megumi's physical abilities are cut above the rest. It's important to note that Toji is the only person to ever make things rough for Gojo, and his son has certainly picked up on some of his physical abilities, although obviously he doesn't have heavenly restriction like his father, so it's not really comparable. But the second thing is his curse technique, being one of the most important and strongest curse techniques known so far. His 10 shadow techniques allows him to create 10 Shikagamis at once, each with an increased level of strength. No one with his curse technique so far have been able to exercise Maharaga, the final Shikagami. On top of that, 10 shadows users have fought on par against 6 eyes users and even defeated a 6 eye user at one point in time. Gojo has both 6 eyes and the unique curse technique Limitless, which has made him incredibly peerless in the Jujutsu world. It's a no-brainer that having a curse technique that rivals that of Gojo is at the very top of the curse technique chain. Furthermore, Sukuna has noted that Megumi's fighting style complements his strength, as his fighting style is more aggressive than other Shikagami's users. This way, Megumi uses his physical abilities to their full extent whilst using his Shikagamis to attack and defend, which in return leaves lesser openings for his opponents to capitalize on. It's usually game over for most Shikagami users if their opponents manages to force a close quarter fight, but that's where Megumi shines too, as after his training with Maki, he's quite the expert in hand-to-hand combat and the use of cursed weapons. This is also where his genetic combined with his hard work plays a pivotal role in Megumi's success. Whilst his physical capabilities aren't on par with those of Itadori's, he's still incredibly strong. Megumi is able to take multiple point-blank hits for a long duration whilst keep on fighting. He has also displayed this consistently throughout the manga since the start, as he fought finger bearers, Sukuna, and many other tough curses like Hanami and Dagon. Megumi's sense of battle is quite sharp innately and has only become sharper through the days as he fights stronger opponents alongside executing several missions alone. From his experience, he can get a rough idea about someone's curse techniques in a few seconds and usually can create room for unexpected abilities and tricks as well. Whilst Megumi usually is very calculated and avoids letting his emotion control him, we all know that any sorcerer who's strong has a loose knot or two, and Megumi is no exception. After Megumi was able to cross that mental boundary he had subconsciously set on himself, he was able to use domain expansion, which is every Jujutsu sorcerer's wet dream. Whilst Megumi believed that his domain was incomplete since he couldn't trap his opponents, he had skipped a step that most people are never able to cross. Still, his domain expansion is incomplete since he faces physical repercussion for using his domain. However, this doesn't mean that his domain expansion isn't useful. Using the Chimera Shadow Garden, Megumi can flood an area and expand his shadow, allowing him to summon multiple Shikagamis and double himself, hiding in his enemy's own shadow, and much more. In fact, after the Shibuya incident in the Culling games, we see Megumi in action once again. This time, Megumi is paired off against a veteran over a century old cursed user Regi. Regi, being from the time of Tengen and Kinjaku, isn't any regular off-the-beat sorcerer. Rather, Regi's star is more likely a special grade or at least special grade 1 and has a very unique curse technique which is called contractual recreation. With his innate technique, it allows him to use receipts and manifest what's written on it into real life. And though this wasn't an easy fight, Megumi was able to defeat him. In their fight, Megumi showcased his versatility and use of his incomplete domain expansion, where he was able to use a closed off surrounding like a gymnasium hall to replicate some of the effect of a full domain. Though his domain doesn't incorporate the classic 100% accuracy hit, it still serves as a massive boost to Megumi's strength, where it expands his shadow technique and over overall use by 120%. To increase the potential of his shadow technique, Megumi incredibly enhanced his overall body strength, especially his lower half, to hold the weight of all that he keeps in his shadow. And during his fight against Reggie-Star, he withstood around 40 units of G-Force, as written by Okkotsu. I don't know his calculations, man. My man's a freaking mathematician, right? But either way, Megumi using his curse energy as support was able to withstand that amount of G-Force like gosh damn. Along with that, with the use of his high battle IQ, he took the W. All of this without the use of a complete domain, and again, no Maharaga. Anyways, the point is that Fushiguro essentially has all the ki needed to reach Gojo's level, and from the looks of it, he might just do it. He's on a roll recently and is growing exponentially with every fight and is slowly mastering his techniques. I believe that if he does manage to exercise Maharaga one day and become capable enough to use all his 10 shadows inside of his completed domain expansion, then Megumi might just be unstoppable.
So now it's finally time to talk about Yuji Itadori and how he fits into Satoru Gojo's dream and what his ending is going to be, as Gege is dead set that one of these characters will die. So since the beginning of the series, Itadori's physical abilities stand out more than anything else. He can easily run at the speed of 60 kilometers an hour. He can even freaking throw a car and take a few sucker punches and whatnot. Yuta Okkotsu also mentioned that Itadori is similar to Maki, who has a heavenly restriction that increases her physical strength drastically, just like Toji Fushiguro. There is a major reason why this is the case, but we will explain this in a future video. This is why it's so important to join our community, hit the notification bell for our channel so you don't miss out. Make sure to support this series by smashing the like button. We need your support. Anyway, after Itadori became Sukuna's vessel, his physical abilities were enhanced even more as he gained even more gifts like, you know, poison resistance and becoming immune to Mahito's idol transfiguration. This was one of the scariest curse techniques we've witnessed so far. In terms of endurance, there's no doubt that Itadori is one of the most resilient sorcerers alive. For example, Choso's attack, which moves at the speed of sound, couldn't pierce Itadori immediately. It's as if physical pain doesn't bother him at all. Choso even called him a monster, as he had never seen a human who could tank attacks so well whilst pushing him back. This man can fight with impaled body parts and disintegrated fingers as if it's a knee scrape or a sprain. Now look guys, this is obviously possible due to Sukuna's power, as his existence inside Itadori has amplified all of Itadori's functions, allowing him to heal insanely fast. Itadori also took steps to grow stronger in all aspects. Becoming physically stronger wasn't too much work for him, since he already has a knack for it. Itadori is arguably the best martial artist in Jujutsu Kaisen right now, and he's up there with the rest as a full-fledged sorcerer as well. Now since Itadori doesn't have a technique of his own, he used to rely on Divergent Fists, which has a delayed second impact. However, he stopped using it after his curse energy control improved and he went on to master the Black Flash. For those of you that don't remember, Black Flash is a technique in Jujutsu that extraordinarily intensifies the user's actual strike when curse energy is applied to it in the 1/1,000,000th of a second of impact. This way, they can deal 2.5 times the damage of a normal attack. Whilst Black Flash is extremely hard to execute, it has become synonymous with Itadori Yuji. Itadori and Nanami Kento hold the record for the most consecutive Black Flashes together at 4. In total, Itadori has used it 9 times, making him one of the most, if not the most consistent user of the technique. No one has ever done that. This also shows Itadori's speed of growth, which even Satoru freaking Gojo noted to be quite fast. Itadori is a curious person and he genuinely seems to enjoy learning new things and techniques. This complements his hard-working nature and a strong determination, allowing him to learn things faster than most people. Itadori's biggest growth spurt came through his fights against Mahito. The two are each other's true enemies, as they are the extreme ends of the same spectrum. If Itadori is justice, then Mahito is a crime. As obvious as it may be, Itadori being a human and Mahito being a curse makes their resentment for each other the strongest. Itadori seeks to find rationality in Mahito's actions, which he can't since Mahito acts upon his instincts. On the other hand, Mahito tries to disregard Itadori's actions as they're rationalized through the human thinking process, which, you know, well, means obviously nothing to an instinct-loving maniac psychopath, cursed spirit, you know. Come on. As Jujutsu Kaisen's manga progresses story-wise, Itadori understands that he can't change the outcome of many things the hard way. Through pain, he's learning and suffering through tribulations to find out the outcome of what Mahito was trying to tell him. He lost Junpei in front of his eyes, and the same with other transfigured humans. He couldn't do anything when Sukuna went on a rampage in Shibuya either. To top it off, he could only simply watch as Mahito attacked Nanami and Nobara. We heard Itadori express his thoughts to kill for the first time against Mahito, and it only grew further. In the end, the two managed to reach a level that they were unaware of before their encounter, as Itadori mastered the Black Flash, and their final fight ends with some of the most beautiful scenes in modern shonen, as Itadori comes to a closure about his feelings and tendencies whilst growing stronger as a sorcerer. Emotions are an important aspect of sorcerers when they're in a battle, as it can have a massive negative or positive effect. Sometimes it leaves the sorcerer blind, causing them to lose, or it can elevate them to a whole nother level. A common example of this would be domain expansion. Through such experiences, Itadori has already reached the upper echelon of sorcerers in the Jujutsu world. So as I mentioned, even Choso has noticed that Itadori feels like a demon even when he's not possessed by Sukuna, meaning that his potential is not normal. Him being able to become Sukuna's vessel is what makes him a potential sorcerer to cross this top echelon and reach Gojo's world. Well, is it simply luck? Obviously not. We know that Kenjaku had possessed Itadori's mother, and it was all set in stone from that time. Itadori isn't extraordinarily strong for no apparent reason. He is one of the only, if not the only person in history to ever become a successful vessel of Sukuna. Both Kenjaku and Sukuna hail from the Heian period, and there's a strong possibility that the two share some sort of history with each other. Another interesting bit could be related to his sudden connection to Choso and Aoi Todo. The two seem to have fake memories where Itadori was their brother and they lived together happily. The fandom was quick to speculate that Itadori might have powers which can create or change memories, but Akutami Sensei, the creator of the show, was quick to shoot them down. This is a little suspicious, as he never said that somebody else couldn't. For example, Tengen. Or at the very least, Akutami Sensei hasn't denied that these fake memories could be due to some sort of power or ability which might not only change the course of the story, but also affect Jujutsu World's power level as a whole. Anyway, as you know, Sukuna is almost as strong as Satoru freaking Gojo, and Gojo has stated that Itadori would be able to use Sukuna's curse technique eventually, but we don't know the extent to which Itadori would be able to master or use the King of Curses curse technique. Still, it is inevitable that Itadori will become as strong as Gojo, if not surpass him, but we don't know if he'll have control over himself or not. It's almost guaranteed that Itadori won't be able to handle a complete Sukuna, and the contract they formed prevents Itadori from interrupting Sukuna as well. Remember the contract that they made before when he first died. Itadori doesn't even remember that he made that contract and deal with Sukuna. At the end of the day, Jujutsu Kaisen won't have a happy ending according to the author. In Jump Fiesta 2019, Akutami mentioned that only one out of the main protagonists will survive. This is extremely important, as so far it is apparent that if Itadori manages to eat all 20 fingers, he'd be killed. Plus, there's that contract that he's not aware of, as I mentioned. Whilst there are hundreds of questions questions, if not more, surrounding who would kill him, our main focus here will be to focus on the philosophical aspect of Itadori's potential death. When Itadori accepted Satoru Gojo's offer, it was only due to his grandfather's wish to help others as he is strong. Later, he decided that he hopes to die a pleasant or a good death, unlike how many others died in the Jujutsu world. It's almost to die a pleasant. Itadori will die an extremely painful death. The pain won't necessarily be physical, but it will be a lot of mental pain, as Nanami mentioned that being a sorcerer means you're not a normal person. And also remember everyone, Satoru Gojo told Megumi that a strong sorcerer never dies a good death. It's always a painful and lonely one. We've practically seen that with Satoru Gojo himself, who was sealed in Shibuya. He was sealed by his very own best friend that is possessed by a sorcerer that is from 1,000 years ago named Kinji. His best friend had died years ago, meaning that there's a good chance that it will be Gojo, Megumi, or Yuta who will end Sukuna along with Itadori. Dying by the hands of your best friend or sensei is not going to be an easy sight for either of the parties, and there's no guarantee about the damage Itadori, or rather Sukuna, would do. We've seen that Itadori was so disgusted and scared from the havoc Sukuna had left in Shibuya that he started puking and became insanely paranoid. He's blaming himself, but is trying to find a path on forgiving himself by atoning for his sins. This is why he has to become even more selfless and self-harming even against Hakari, because he will do anything to unseal Satoru Gojo and save the Jujutsu world, and by doing that, every human on the planet, as Kinji is trying to destroy the very aspects of society that keep it functioning. Another thing to consider is the tradition of passing curses to loved ones when dying. Itadori's grandfather did this by asking Itadori to help others and to die a death surrounded by people whom he loves, and they reciprocate the feeling. Nanami's classmates did the same, and so did Riko to Geto and Principal Yaga to Principal Gakuganji. Geto even said, "Won't you curse me?" to Gojo while dying, which was the author's way of signifying the importance of words, which can turn into curses themselves. Gege Akutami had plans for Yuji to remain dead after Sukuna ripped his heart out if the serialization for Jujutsu Kaisen didn't go well, since, you know, Yuji was the type of character that Gege wouldn't get along with or handle well. However, since Jujutsu Kaisen is this major success, Gege later confirmed in multiple interviews that Gojo, Megumi, and the others are not Itadori's rivals. He doesn't see them that way. They are rather all best friends and love each other. Therefore, Itadori will be able to achieve his goal by the end of this manga. Essentially, it's almost certain that Jujutsu Kaisen's ending won't be a happy one like other shonens. We're gonna all cry our eyes out. Someone's gonna die. So, if you want to know the depressing reality of Maki Zenin or Satoru Gojo, please watch the video being displayed to you right now. Goodbye.